I would argue it's actually a really great time for this video. For a while now, I've been wanting to take another look at Fallout New Vegas, the iconic Fallout that for many is simply their favorite Fallout of all time. Just a couple of days ago marked the 10-year anniversary of this game, and just this Friday we are getting the Outer Worlds, which is created by the same developer and being described by many as a spiritual successor to this game. So with that in mind, it's a great time to reinstall Fallout New Vegas and give it another go. So in this video, what I want to do is show you some of the recent and good mods to come out for this. Unlike some of my Fallout 4 content, this isn't just looking at the past couple of weeks, but rather all of 2019. What kind of major mod releases have come out over this past year, and you might be surprised there's actually some pretty great ones. Several of these mods I would say are definitely worth re-downloading for, and several others are definitely a great thing to add to your game, especially if you're trying to start a new playthrough or just mess around a bit to hold yourself over for the Outer Worlds. Speaking of which, if you do want to subscribe, I'll have a lot of content on that coming later this week also. But first and foremost, one of the major new releases we saw in 2019 was the New Vegas tick fix. When trying to play Fallout New Vegas in 2019, there's a lot of fixes or changes you have to make, some mods you have to download to get things working appropriately. The New Vegas tick fix is actually an update to one of these older mods and just a much better version of it. It solves a couple of the major issues you previously had and actually makes it a lot easier for the user. No longer is there a configuration step and stuff you actually have to do, you just have to download this mod, install it, and you're good to go. One of the major themes we've been seeing in 2019 with Fallout New Vegas is kind of quality of life or feature changes that are a little bit more minor. There's been a recent push by many users to move away from Project Nevada, which adds in a lot of features. So one mod that we're actually seeing is just vanilla sprint. As the title suggests, it'll add sprinting into Fallout New Vegas, a feature that wasn't originally there. It's really simple. When you click the shift key by default, you will start running and it'll drain your AP while also holstering your weapon. It works pretty flawlessly right out of the box. It does exactly what you want, and the real appeal of a mod like this is you don't get all the other baggage that comes with a lot of other sprint mods. They add in not just sprinting, but several other features that you may or may not want. While this one, it's just sprinting, easy to use and very simple. Also makes the game a lot more enjoyable. From the same mod author, we also do have just hit marker, this making it so as you actually land shots on an enemy, you will get a hit marker that appears on screen. This does have quite a few additional configuration options, so you could change the look and style of that hit marker, but it's actually a really nice addition because it makes Fallout New Vegas's combat feel a bit more responsive, a bit easier to follow, which otherwise is definitely one of the sore points of this game. Retrievable throwables is just an intuitive mod. It makes it so any throwing weapon that doesn't explode is lootable. So if you throw a spear, you could go pick up that spear because that makes sense. That's how it should work. Although one that will probably save you a lot of hours across an entire playthrough is inventory search. What this mod will do is add in a search bar while actually browsing your inventory, whether it be in your PIP-BOY or even at vendors. This obviously being invaluable, especially when you just want to do a quick transaction. You don't feel like scrolling through everything, especially in New Vegas where the menus aren't quite as large, although of course there are mods affecting that also. But another one that I actually really like and is also pretty intuitive, no witnesses, is a cool mod. So of course in Fallout New Vegas there is a faction reputation system. If you take down a bunch of people from a certain faction, they'll get mad at you. What no witnesses is going to do is make it so if you take down some people from a faction but get rid of all of the witnesses, the faction won't react because they'll never know who did that. They won't know you took down people from their faction. It lays out pretty explicit rules, so if somebody starts running away and remains out of combat for 30 seconds, the witness will spread the word of your actions and then the faction will be aware of it. But otherwise, it's another one of those fairly intuitive mods, something that just makes a lot of sense and works the way you would think. But also one that is going to be a pretty big quality of life feature is NPCs can miss. I don't know what it was about Fallout New Vegas, but the NPCs in this game were pretty laser accurate. NPCs can miss is going to lower this. It's going to make it so the NPCs don't have incredibly good accuracy anymore. There are a few different tiers of this, so you can define how accurate you want them to be, but it definitely makes playing this game, especially in some of the more hardcore difficulties, a lot more enjoyable and digestible. But then what actually may be one of my favorite mods on this list, we actually have immersive hit reactions. By default in Fallout New Vegas, when you actually shoot somebody, they don't react at all. They'll just keep shooting at you until they're dead. What immersive hit reactions is going to do is make it so when you land shots on on somebody, they will react. The bullet carries a lot of force to their body, so it'll knock them back, stun them for a second. Headshots will actually lead to more complete and full stuns. This is a really nice one, and it also can affect the player character, although that aspect of the mod is configurable, but it'll effectively add in a flinching system that we see like with many other modern games, and I personally really like this one. I think it's a great addition to the game, and it makes the combat a lot more interesting and controllable, but doing so in a very immersive and intuitive way. But speaking of combat, we do have a couple of new weapon mod releases that came out over this past year. One notable one is the Winchester Model 12 trench gun. This adding in a very nice shotgun into Fallout New Vegas. It's fairly simple, there's not a ton to talk about it, but it definitely looks pretty good, and if you're looking for something new and custom, that is a great download. And then we also do have the ELYSIUM AK. This may look pretty familiar, it actually is for Fallout 4 also, and also from a movie franchise. That's originally what it's inspired from. In effect, it's going to add in a very high quality but unique looking AK into Fallout New Vegas. Of course, featuring custom animations and just all around being pretty cool, but also pretty different. But if those were a little bit too small scale for you, we also did see the release of TAMMER'S standalone weapon mega pack. And as you could probably guess, what this is going to be is a collection of weapons from this mod author. Several of these didn't necessarily release in 2019, but the ability to download all of them in one nice bundle is definitely pretty convenient. These are integrated into the leveled list of Fallout New Vegas, so you'll start seeing them pop up at vendors, on enemies, and there's quite a wide variety of options here, some of which are totally custom and new, other ones are just modifications on existing items in New Vegas, but it's definitely one of those mods that is convenient, well integrated, and a good addition to the game. But now that you have some of these new weapons and some new functionality in Fallout New Vegas, you need something to use it on, and for that we do have headhunting. What this is going to be is a new quest mod where basically you're going to get contracts to take down enemies, or sometimes not take them down, and then you can turn in that contract for a cap reward. There are over 30 quests added in with this mod, taking you to familiar but also unique locations, and also is pretty cool because you have to work your way up to earning some of those harder contracts. So it does give you some progress, something to work towards as you're using this, and personally I really like this. And it's also a great way to try out some of those previous mods I showed you earlier in this video. But then what will likely being one of the most substantial or notable mod releases of 2019, we do have the functional post-game ending. Like many mods, what this is going to do is make it so after completing Fallout New Vegas, you will have the ability to continue playing. After that slideshow does go through, you could go back and continue playing through some of these side quests, some of the DLCs, or even some quests you add on through mods. That part's not new. A lot of mods have done that in the past. The thing that is new is it actually is a reactive world. You beat the game. You sided with one faction or another, there were consequences, you see them in the slideshow at the end, and with functional post-game ending, it's actually going to be real. It's described how Goodsprings is taken over and taxed by the NCR. You'll go to Goodsprings and find the NCR. The dialogue will reflect some of the events that happened. You'll be recognized as a savior by many of the people in this world, and this mod is particularly cool because it's quite comprehensive. Almost anything there's an ending slide for will be reflected in game. If you don't manage to get Rex a new brain, Rex will die and you'll just no longer have that companion. You can see the consequences of some of the choices you made throughout New Vegas, and it truly is an awesome one. This is an incredible mod and definitely one to pay attention to. If you have one of those saves floating around where you basically are at the end of New Vegas or right before it, I would definitely download this and complete the game, and you can actually see what effect you had on this world. Although a great mod to add along with that is the Living Desert. This one's pretty simple. What it's going to do is actually make it so there are just more people overall. Increased populations in certain areas, patrols from one town to another. You'll see more people in general, but also a lot more members of certain factions. But one of the particularly cool aspects of this is it actually comes with some really interesting integration. In Fallout New Vegas, you have a lot of those quests that are just like, go here and clear out some enemies. Typically, it's just a minor quest that you do, and then once you're done, you progress. But with the Living Desert, after doing something like that, that now becomes a safe area, and you'll see people start patrolling around there. So now in game, completing some of those quests will lead to NPCs occupying that area when they previously didn't. It's a really cool mod. It's one of those ones that fits in naturally, it makes a lot of sense in game, and also it fits in with functional post-game ending. And this actually is a great mod to showcase some of those changes, some of the consequences from your actions throughout the story overall. It's a great mod on its own, but it's also a great combo. But then with a couple of simpler mods to just enhance the game in minor ways. Firstly, we actually have subtle camera motion. This mod actually just came out this past week, and it's a pretty good one. In New Vegas, when you're reloading some of your weapons, it'll kind of feel like there's like an earthquake happening. Subtle camera motion will turn that down, making it so it's a little bit calmer and you're able to more accurately focus on the animations at hand, because a lot of times they're actually really cool. It also does have compatibility with some of the major animation mods out there. It's really a fairly simple one, but I think a nice and necessary change. Going from modern games then back to New Vegas, some of those reloads are a little much and a little bit headache inducing. But then one final one that also is a really nice addition is the PIP-BOY 2000 Mark VI, which is going to be a new PIP-BOY mod in Fallout New Vegas. This PIP-BOY has a major visual upgrade. It simply looks way better. In general, it's a pretty cool mod. Obviously, this one's a little bit subjective. There's quite a few PIP-BOYs out there, but this is one of the newer releases, and in my eyes, one of the better ones. But either way, yeah, that is a look at some of the latest happenings or new releases in the Fallout New Vegas modding scene. It is pretty incredible that even 10 years later, 10 years after release, we are getting mods at this level with this much quality behind them. In fact, yesterday, as I was actually filming this video, one of the mods got updated. This is still a very active modding scene and something to not sleep on. If you've been playing the game for the 10-year anniversary or even to prep yourself for the Outer Worlds, I would highly recommend checking out some of the links in the description and downloading some of these pretty awesome mods. With all that being said, I thank you for watching again. I hope you enjoyed this video, and with that, I hope to see you all next time. Later.